Activists and human rights campaigners in Zimbabwe fear a new crackdown that could roll back gains made during the 8-day crisis that culminated in the resignation of President Robert Mugabe last week. Relatives of victims of state-sponsored violence said they were concerned about the track record of the new leader, Emmerson Mnangagwa, who was Mugabe's right-hand man and is blamed for the brutal suppression of political opposition parties during elections in 2008. Emmerson Mnangagwa was Zimbabwe's powerful vice president until November 6, when he was fired by Robert Mugabe. The 75-year-old former intelligence chief had been locked in a battle with the First Lady, Grace Mugabe, to succeed her husband as president. In October, she publicly denied poisoning him after he fell ill at a rally in August. After his sacking, which was seen as an attempt to clear Grace Mugabe's path to power, Mnangagwa fled to South Africa. He reportedly returned on November 14 as the military prepared to take over the country, and is firm favorite to become Zimbabwe's next leader. He has strong support within the security establishment and among veterans of Zimbabwe's 1970s guerrilla war, when he earned the nickname the Crocodile. Despite allegations about his role in atrocities in the 1980s, much of the international community has long seen him as being the most likely figure in Zimbabwe to guarantee a stable transition and implement economic reforms. Just because Mnangagwa has wrestled power from the devil does not mean I see him as the Messiah, said Patson Jamara, whose activist brother Itai was abducted in 2015 and has not been heard of since. So many have been killed, maimed, tortured, or imprisoned, and the ones who are presiding over this transition are the ones responsible, he added. Mugabe, whose 37-year rule over the impoverished southern African country was marked by brutal repression, stepped down after a military takeover led to mass protests and impeachment proceedings in parliament. In his inauguration speech in a packed national stadium in Harare on Friday, Mnangagwa, the 75-year-old stalwart of the ruling ZANU-PF party, said he would govern for all patriotic Zimbabweans and promised elections would be held as scheduled next year. He did not mention lifting restrictions on freedom of expression, or any measures to weaken the grip of the feared internal security services he helped set up following Zimbabwe's independence from white minority rule in 1980. The new president was Minister of Justice when Itai Jamara was pushed into a vehicle by unknown men, and has been accused of involvement in the killings of more than 20,000 civilians in the south of Zimbabwe in the 1980s. Robert Mugabe planned for everything, except his own retirement. He outsmarted his rivals and blindsided his allies for decades, and so most of the country had come to accept that he would stay in office until the day he died. Emmerson Mnangagwa, now expected to take over from him, had boasted in May that Mugabe would die in the job. As such, there was no planning for the future.